public hearing to order here.
Turn it over to me.
I'm turning everything over to you, Greg.
By way of introduction, my name is Greg Voss. I'm special counsel today. Mike Duncan had a conflict, so I'm going to help operate this and guide everybody through this meeting, hopefully. As you all know, Planning and Zoning has made a recommendation for approval of this plan, and Mr. Schwartz is going to present that to you all. And then what will happen is the proponents will have an opportunity to present any evidence, anything additional that they want. If there are any opponents, obviously counsel can ask any questions of them. Any opponents that come in, they can cross-examine them, and then counsel can present anything they want. It'd be the easiest process. You all, after this is over, there is no special meeting scheduled. I don't know if you all are aware how the special meetings are called. The mayor can call one, or the majority would be 4 members of council can request a special meeting. And so that would be the next step. If there is no special meeting called by operation of law on, I believe it's May 31st, is that right? That it would go into effect and be approved. So you all, if there's a special meeting and it's called, it could be for denial, or it could be if you all wanted to pass it and add some conditions. So those are kind of what you've got out there. Anybody have any questions of me?
Greg, real quick on that, if they were to have a special meeting to add conditions, would that require 2 special meetings?
It would be an ordinance, yeah. A denial is just a municipal order, but if they wanted to do it, you would need to pass an ordinance.
Okay.
Turn it over to Mr. Schwartz. He can make his application. I would, for the record, just so that we have it, this is the Planning and Zoning's recommendation and paperwork, and to enter that into the record and give that back to Javon. Give it to me. So, unless there's any objection to us putting that into the record, now you can proceed.
Good evening. My name is Michael Schwartz. I'm here representing the Boone County Planning Commission, and I will give a presentation that was basically presented at the Planning Commission's public hearing. So the site is roughly 8.4 acres. It's located right behind the Kroger. This site was zoned C2, Commercial 2 by your ordinance number 2005-14 on October 10th of 2005. The concept plan that was originally submitted showed 125 condominium units, several buildings, access off of 2 points on Town Center Drive. The plan has been amended, basically showing, basically showing a pocket park right in here. And that was the most significant change to the plan. So here you have the square footages of the property that's proposed.
I'm sorry, Greg, will you give us just a moment? About every 30 minutes, you can guarantee one or the other. It'll pass.
So, what you see here is they're showing the number of buildings, the total square footage. It's important to note that the C2 zoning district allows for a maximum intensity of 15,000 square feet of building area per acre. However, the use of the PB overlay, that's the plan development overlay, allows a 50% increase to that intensity. And so with that intensity, they're allowed 189,000 square feet of building space. These are the types of buildings that they propose: brick, shake siding, board and batten shutters, etc. This was all in the packet that the council received. More building types of elevations based on the type of building. This was the landscape that was submitted. You can see that they have provided landscaping along the perimeter, as well as landscaping along the central east-west driveway. In terms of topography, the site falls from 870 mean sea level in the northern and eastern portions of the site to 864 in the south central portion of the site. It's obviously a 6% drop, but it's not terribly significant. The zoning of the site, as you see in the center, is C2. Everything around it is also zoned C2. In terms of land uses, you have Kroger to the north, you have the fire station to the south, you have the air care south of the fire station. To the west, you have the senior housing facility that's under construction, and you'll have the library that will also be under construction. To the southeast, there is a proposed tractor supply company. The aerial map, you can see that the site is vacant, and most of the areas around it are either vacant or being developed, as I just explained. Some outside pictures. This is the view from Town Center Drive and the private driveway that currently serves the shopping center. So Kroger would be off to the left. This is a view of the site and the adjoining property to the north. This is the adjoining properties to the north and the east. This is looking at Town Center Drive towards Mary Groves. Town Center Drive again towards Mary Groves, and this would be the site access. This was just to show that Town Center Drive has 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction with a continuous center left turn lane. This is looking at the Kroger. So you are at the Kroger. This would be from the site looking towards the Kroger, and the drive that's in the middle of that picture, that's the private drive that would separate Kroger from the site in question. And that's that shared private driveway. So this is looking again, looking at the site towards Town Center Drive in Windsor. Fire station is on the right. That vacant area that you see on the left, that's the proposed location for Tractor Supply. Looking again from the site to the south, you can see the fire station there. More properties to the south. And this is Wenstrup Lane behind the firehouse. This is the air care facility. You can see the helicopter pad there on the left. Adjoining property to the southeast, southwest. Adjoining property immediately to the east and immediately to the west. Okay, the comprehensive plan. The site is there in the middle. It's in the red color, which is identified for commercial uses. The area that is to the north, east, southeast, southwest are also commercial. Immediately to the south, you have the purple with the P. That's public and institutional in terms of future land use. Obviously, that's recognizing the fire station, the helicopter facility, and the proposed library site. Within the staff report, which hopefully you've all seen, there are several passages from the text of the comprehensive plan. I'm not going to go into those, but they're there as part of the record. These are the apartments that are on Service Road, just to give you an idea of what some residential uses are nearby. These are floor plans of the product that is proposed to be built. There was a lot of discussion about the noise factor from the helicopter pad. You can see the 100 yards, 200 yards, and 300 yard rings there. And that was just trying to get a sense of how far away these proposed residential buildings would be. So they're going to be somewhere between 100 and 200 yards from that helicopter pad. And that's just the decibel level that one might have in terms of what is considered extremely loud versus very loud. And we've been told that that the helicopter is somewhere in that 80 to 100 range, I believe is what the number was. In terms of the recommendation from the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission is recommending approval with several conditions, predominantly on the basis that the Planning Commission found that this proposal for the residential uses is appropriate in this area due to its consistency with several passages of the Constitution relative to demographics, site design, locational requirements, those kinds of things. The Planning Commission also felt that the applicant has met the significant portions of the PD regulations to get those exemptions. In terms of conditions, the Planning Commission's conditions are as follows. Number one, the approval shall be based on the revised concept development plans that were reviewed at the February 16, 2022 Zone Change Committee meeting. Minor revisions to that concept plan can be approved by the zoning administrator. Number two, the rear facades of buildings 10 through 16 shall contain additional brick as shown in option 2 building elevations. All of these, by the way, were part of the packet. Number three, the roadside facades of buildings 10 and 16 shall contain windows, and those were the ones that were facing the sides, east and west of the site. Also, 10-unit buildings can be flipped to the end of this building row if adding windows isn't feasible on the left facade of a 5-unit building. Condition 4, the development shall be permitted 2 monument signs. The signs shall not exceed 10 feet in height and shall generally be constructed per the applicant's photos that were shown at the February 2 public hearing. Number 5, building mounted signage on the building shall be limited to building numbers or address ranges. 6, recreational or commercial vehicle parking shall not be permitted in the parking lot. 7, the home builder shall submit a sound study to the Boone County Planning Commission staff with the submittal of the first major site plan that includes any condominium buildings. The study shall document the day-night average sound level on the subject site, and if it is within acceptable, meaning not exceeding 65 decibels, normally unacceptable, above 65 but not exceeding 75, or unacceptable ranges, which is above 75 per HUD's guidelines. The home builder shall follow all of HUD's requirements, environmental impact statement, noise abatement, and etc. Condition 8, the rear buffer yard, which would be the one facing the Kroger drive, that private drive between Kroger and the site, shall comply with the following. Alternative buffer A planting shall be required within 20-foot wide buffer area. Usually a buffer yard A is 10 feet, so it's the buffer yard A planting material in a wider planting width. 50% of the trees shall be an evergreen species from plant list D. Small shrubs from plant list E are not permitted in that buffer. And the landscape architect shall replace as many large shrubs as possible with trees from plant list A, B, and D. The substitution rate shall be 3 large shrubs to equal 1 tree. And lastly, relative to landscaping, 3 4-foot tall berms shall be required in this buffer. Condition 9, the community park shall include one of the following: a playground or a tot lot, or a gazebo or shelter with seating, additional sidewalks, benches, and additional landscaping. And last condition, any proposed fencing shall be decorative in style and comply with section 3655 of the zoning regulations. So that is the issue, that is the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Again, it's approval with those 10 conditions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Greg, sure. Your meeting, huh?
You guys, anybody have any
Over to you.
questions, this gentleman?
Yep, yeah, I do. How are you? I'm John Wainwright. Quick question for the application regulations, right? Section 308. So I'm assuming the first one was that it was because the assumption was that this fits in the comprehensive plan, and that's
Yes.
why it was approved.
So you're reading the findings for a zoning map amendment.
Right?
So yes, the planning commission basically said that they couldn't make the finding, well, it's generally consistent with the text. They're also saying that the use is appropriate in this area.
Right. So in the staff report, and I just highlighted a couple of things, right? So it says, mixing of residential and other land uses where appropriate, strive to balance the rights of the landowner. So these are going to be owned properties, correct?
That is our understanding, yes.
Yeah, so these aren't rentals, so strive to balance the rights of landowners. And so we'll touch back, I think, when we get back to like noise and, kind of their quality of life. And some of them had talked about buffering and density, so I'd like to hear more, if you could, about the PD addition, the 50% that they got. So the way I understood it is that this is 189,000 square feet of space that's available, and they plan on using 188,500. So, and I think one of the comments from one of the folks on the committee says it sounds like they're trying to put 6 pounds into a 5-pound bag.
The vote was 11-1. The one no vote, she did mention that she felt that it was too dense, and that if one building were removed, she probably would have voted yes on it. So to answer your question, yeah, that was her comment, that she felt that it was too dense.
Gotcha.
Obviously, the other 11 members did not see it the same way.
So one of the comments also in that was around green space. And so they went back and I believe Mr. Burling said he made some adjustments to the site plan, correct, to add. And it says they added 3.7 acres of green space. So I looked at the two maps. It just looks like they colored in the spot that would have been grass already green and said that, wow, congratulations, you have 3.7 acres of green space. Because I don't see any building. I see one building move to the left, but there's nothing that's gone. So how do you add 3.7 of green space with no deletion? Someone could show that to me. I have the original, right, from the original example. And then I just have the original example plus green.
So,
Green space.
yeah, so you can see that
They added green.
immediately to the left of the north-south driveway.
Where the old dumpster pad was going to be,
They made a pocket farm.
0.2 acres of green space. So where's the other 3.5 acres of green space that Mr. Burling said in the record that he met the criteria by adding 3.7 acres of green space?
We consider, I shouldn't say we, the zoning regulations state that anything that is not hard surface, which is buildings, parking areas, driveways, that is considered open space. So your drawing of the green,
Well, that's not my drawing, that's what they said.
the drawing that was submitted with the green color that you're showing, that is the green, the open space.
Yeah, so that was the consideration that they said, okay, we want more green space and walking trails and sidewalks additions, interior sidewalks, if I remember correctly. And so to get the community park, they deleted the interior walk sidewalks because they were the walk sidewalks that went to the dumpster pad. So that's gone now because now building moved over. So we deleted interior sidewalks. That was an ask to add interior sidewalks. And we added 0.2 of new green space. That met what the board considered adding green space?
I'll let the applicant discuss
Yeah, I mean,
the
that-
design, but
Sure.
in terms of the answer is a short yes. The planning commission, by their vote,
No, I understand why they voted. I just wanted on the record to know that hey, there's no green space, right? That's what multiple people on the record said. There's no green space. There's no walking trails. There's no pocket park. There's no this. And then to just make it green, oh, that was already green, but now and then adding and saying, I added a little bit, that's what the record says. I added 3.7 acres of green space.
And the planning commission
Got it.
felt.
Again, I get it. I just wanted on the record
revised
that-
plan met the requirements.
Got it. All right. So it also talked about should be encouraged near existing transportation nodes. And so I believe in in the committee analysis, they mentioned that the site adjoins the Kroger Marketplace, the future library. Future residents will be able to walk to these sites, other commercial uses, and a bus stop. Does anyone know when the last time Tank ran, where you can get a Tank bus in Walton?
I don't.
Up until last year, they.
2 years ago, I talked to Tank today. So it hasn't ran in 2 years, yet we use that as a measurement in, and I have the message from Tank if you want to see it. So how can that be used as a measurement of the committee analysis when the bus doesn't run anymore? And part of the expectation is when you have mixed uses that there's mass transportation.
Well, the transportation is not necessarily just the bus route. It is the fact that there is
arterial highways, I understand all that.
roadway
I get it.
and other, public facilities
Sure.
within.
But they specifically mentioned the bus as I'm assuming a factor of why their committee analysis was, and that was in section 3, where they mentioned the bus was one of the factors for it being part of the comprehensive plan and meeting some of those requirements, but it doesn't run here anymore. So, again, just on the record. I think that's all I have for you, sir, unless everyone has something.
Does anybody else have any questions, this gentleman?
I do have one more, I'm sorry. So you mentioned the senior development. Was that already zoned properly?
I believe that went through the Board of Adjustment as a conditional use.
What was the conditional use? But it was C2, it was just,
Yes.
it was already C2.
And multifamily housing is a conditional use in the C2 district.
Gotcha.
So they went through the Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustments, not a zoning change?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else on the council have a question? Hearing none, Mr. Ducey.
Oh, I'm Tony Berlin, off the town center. So you do all have the plan, and that's all. He didn't have it on there.
Yeah, no, this one, right? The green one? The add green version?
Yeah, that's the, I need to see it.
I think it came, Matt Hogan sent it to us by email.
Yeah, we did add an entrance on the west side, and the reason we got rid of that dumpster area, because it had 2 curb cuts. So
Sure.
New casual. So we lost that, we added more green space. We didn't really add 3.7 acres, we just calculated bottom line. So we didn't add
Sure.
any additional, we just did the calculation.
Gotcha. I get it. I'm just reading the minutes, right? And the minutes say, Mr. Byrne, the applicant, right?
Right.
They added green space, 3.7 acres. They did everything they asked of them. Right? Again, for the record, that's just not accurate.
Right, I get it. So yeah, it does show we're putting that park in there. We have 44% green space, but I calculated out to be.
Can I ask you a question on the park?
Sure.
Before we get any further,
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions of Mr. Schwartz?
Can we retain Mr. Schwartz for questions that may come up later?
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's do that then.
So on the community park space, it says you got the condition of one or the other,
Right.
right? And so which way you lean?
Well, there's not gonna be many kids, so we're gonna figure out.
We'll get to that.
I know, but that's gonna be the deciding factor.
Okay.
You know, As they sell, the kids are gonna get.
Is it fair enough to ask that,
Yeah,
give his
I don't-
spiel?
Anybody, so that's gonna be, that's why I'm putting it in one of the
Sure.
We don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah. Just as I understand he wanted to answer something there, but let's, are you putting him on to present? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just talking about the site.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The walking trails, there's 3,584 linear feet of walking trails we're putting in. That's not more that area.
Sure.
And that. We are putting in 5 park benches. That's all of those. 2 monuments, 3 entries into the site.
Can I ask on the walking trails, pretty much they're sidewalks, right? It was just, right.
Yeah,
So why not go all the way to the edges?
well, then you're getting into the landscape area. So which one do you want? You want, sidewalk and that?
Sure, but a lot of the notes are that this is a great mixed use because of the walkability and everyone will be walking and doing all these things. But to get through the property, I got to walk through the property, not around the property, right? So I don't want to walk. I got to walk through the parking lot.
You got several areas you can walk through.
Well,
You can walk down that street. Why don't you walk down that street?
well, I mean, obviously we can get to safety here in a bit. Right? We
Yeah.
obviously want to walk down the street, right? We have fire engines, we have Dollar General trucks, we have
You
construction.
have plenty of walking though. A lot of walking.
Yeah, my question was just why not just round the whole property and why not circle all so that all ties in? So eventually, right, because Kroger comes down, right, on both sides.
I get that.
Right, and then it would all just connect in a walkability of the property.
I think it'd be mostly your residents in here are going to use it as much. I don't see a whole lot of other people just walking through that. I don't know. You don't see that. It's for these residents, basically, but we're accommodating people around us, although they want to walk around.
Sure. Okay.
That's all I got on the second part. And this is John Haas with Fisher House. If you have any questions, I can.
Yeah, sure.
You're up.
Yeah.
It's your case.
Good evening, my name is Jerry Duzey. You can tell from the I'm wearing a suit from the lawyer. And I'm happy to represent the applicants here. I've represented them on several projects in the past, as well as in other areas of northern Kentucky. As Mr. Boston's probably advised you, the law of planning and zone changes is that the council is to decide based on facts, not how you feel, not general philosophy, not what your neighbor thinks, but on facts that are presented in the public hearing in front of the planning commission, or facts that were presented here tonight. So I'm going to focus on facts. The planning commission found facts, and has anybody else read them since Mr. Mayor? Okay, good. Well, then you know the planning commission found this a fact from the public hearing, which was extensive. It was the staff report, which is that big, I just summarized it, and questions and answers from commissioners, as well as comments, and there was nobody against it. Nobody against this, even though it was advertised. So the finding of fact from the planning commission, which was pretty tough on the applicants, maybe not as tough as you, Mr. Porter, but pretty tough on the applicants, and got into the weeds with it in small detail. And they quoted chapter and verse the comprehensive plan, because as you said, section 308 of the code, which is exactly what KRS does, it's the same thing, to justify a zone change. And they quoted the chapter and verse. I'm reading from the planning commission's findings of fact after the public hearing. Regarding the Walton Town Center, the potential for mixed uses, including high-density residential, commercial, office, institutional, and recreational, should occur. That's what we're doing. It complies with the comprehensive plan. They went on to find, and the goals and objectives in the land use element, quote, the Walton Town Center should continue to grow, serving both local residents and interstate travelers. And these are local residents, and that's what we're doing. So that was a finding of fact. So tonight, briefly, I want to just ask the question, what are the facts? What are the facts from the Planning Commission? One, that this plan complies with the comprehensive plan. That's not debatable. I mean, that's black and white in the text, in the book. No facts contradict that. The staff report talks about the details that went into the public hearing and the things that went into the findings of fact. The gentleman from Fisher Hope was there. There was no no comment or disagreement that the product itself is first class, Mr. Holmes is first class. I'm familiar with this product. My brother just
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. 1 second.
I apologize.
Thank you.
You good? Sorry.
Yeah, I think so now.
So it is an outstanding product. It's first class. Mr. Burling of the Burling Development has done everything that the Planning Commission asked throughout this process, every single thing. And the Planning Commission's recommendation speaks the loudest of consultants, lawyers, and other folks, because they've taken input from the professional level, they're the professional planners, they've considered the facts, they spent a lot of time on this one. And they recommended this 11-1. As Mr. Schwartz said, the one negative vote said, eliminate one building and I'll vote for it. Well, what's the point? You know, that's just a personal preference. That's not really a fact. So, the Planning Commission asked for several things. First of all, they asked for the park and the recreation area. Now, you take issue with the word in the minutes that we added it. Well, you know, that's not a misrepresentation. It's there. There's only 8 acres on this site. You've got 3.7 acres of green space. That's almost half. That's way, way beyond the minimum requirements in this PD regulations. I think that's 20%. Yeah, that's the regulation. So we're over double what's required. The Planning Commission asked for that. They got it. I read the minutes, and the fire chief said, you know, I think for the safety standpoint, I prefer another entrance. So they gave it to them. But these are high-cost items, by the way. So went from 2 accesses to 3, because that's what the fire chief's opinion. So they gave it to him. So what are you know, the conditions? Planning Commission, Mike alluded to them, but I mean, there's 2.5 pages of it, all the way up and down the board, from landscaping to walking trails to green space to noise, and I'm going to get to that. So what are the facts? What are any new facts that you can consider tonight? Well, let me talk about noise for a second. Let me just digress on that because it appeared in the comments that that's a concern of yours. I represented UC Health for that health board. It was prior counselor. You might have been on.
Was.
And there was a lot of concern and a lot of digging into the weeds and getting into details. If we put a heliport there, even though it's great for public safety, is it going to stymie development in this area for residential growth? Is it going to have a negative effect on that? We need to consider that because we don't want to let one use, as nice and as laudable as it is, to put a damper on the rest of this potential of this site. And that was studied hard. And these decibel ratings were studied hard. And it was found then that there's not going to be a detrimental effect for residential off-site from this distance through the firehouse to the heliport. But the applicant went one farther because the Planning Commission really didn't have the background on all that heliport sound studies and how the city handled it then, because Steve didn't hire me at that point. Or I told him. But the point is that, you know, I don't want to talk politics here, but I guess we all get a little frustrated about big government and big brother. And that heliport is totally visible. It's completely in the open. It's going to be disclosed. Anybody that's going to buy one of these units is going to know it's there. And so it's their decision. They don't know what's in their best interest or whether they should buy a top-flight condo this close to a heliport, whether it's already been studied and we know it's not going to be harmful. But if they have concerns about it, then they have concerns about it, and it causes them to lose a sale, causes them to lose a sale. But we don't need to be big brother about that when we already know the facts. So, you know, it would be a different story. I mean, this is usually when they hire me, is if the residential's there first, and then UC Health hires me to put a heliport right next to the subdivision. Those are the tough ones. But the heliport's there first. And so people know it's there, it's not hidden, it's conditioned, and they can hire on fire. So what are any new facts tonight? Well, I know the city asked its engineer to look at this from multiple points of view, and the city engineer, who, I don't know if you're here.
He's going to be online.
He's in remotely, Mr. Dusing.
Okay, all right.
He's got illness that keeps him away from us.
Well, I only asked in case you wanted to.
I am here. I can barely hear you, but yeah, if you have any questions, I'll try to respond to as best I can.
Well, let me come closer because I just wanted to compliment you.
Okay, that's good.
I got to read the city engineer's report about 4:30 today with 6 grandkids in the backyard, but I read it. And I didn't get to print it, but the conclusion of his report to council, well, as usual, it's like trying to get on an airplane.
Sure.
Can't get it
Maybe
up.
I'll help you out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to belabor it, it's a comprehensive report, and it says, conclusion, last sentence, based on the information provided above, I do not see a significant justification for rejecting the recommendation of the Boone County Planning Commission. That's your city engineer. Now, in addition, at about the same time, I got to glance at and reread right before I came here. You all, someone asked for a traffic study after the Planning Commission approved this. And I understand the city commissioned a traffic study with Mayor Becker. And I got to look at that a few minutes ago. And it says it's totally innocuous with regard to traffic. There's no significant impact whatsoever. And that included the build out all the way to, and other development in the development all the way out to
Jerry, just for a second. I've never seen it, so I understand you're here. Has that been introduced to the council?
Yeah, we have it.
You guys have it. I haven't seen it, so I just want to make sure that the council had it. So when you're talking about it, we know what's out
You
there.
know, these are informal proceedings. I didn't want to tender it into evidence. But since they're both city documents,
Oh, I have no problem with it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. I want to make sure they
I
have
have plenty
seen
to
it.
talk about in both of them, so.
so the only new news, since the planning commission recommended this based on the prior public hearing, 11-1, are these two studies, the engineer study and the traffic study. So I'm kind of taken aback at what it is that is, and forgive me if I misread you, but I just read your tone as being against the project. And I just wanted to bring out, so we can address any concerns, the conditions that the Planning Commission imposed covers the water. When we talk about noise, these people cannot build any of these townhomes. Cannot build. You pass this unanimously. They still cannot build based on the condition they agreed to until a sound study is done and Fisher Homes commits to install in construction the appropriate level of insulation that is called for with regard to this level of noise. So they can't get a building permit until that's met. So I'm missing a little bit there as to your concern about that, because you've got a rock hard guarantee. Can't be built unless those noise regulations are met in construction by Fisher Homes. So finally, and overall, I think council being diligent, taking this very seriously and doing your job you weigh, what are the pluses and minuses of this? Because the real effect is not within the development, it's how does it affect the city overall? Fair statement? So the pros, it's a first-class project. Cities welcome first-class projects. First-class builder. The Shaven Group in Berlin have been active in Walton for a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, because I've handled a lot of that. I don't know of a single thing that they said they would do, whether or not they were required legally to do it, that they didn't do. The class people who keep their word. And if there is something that I'm not aware of, bring it to our attention and then we look. They're that kind of people. Another big asset that I think is missing here, the city of Walton has been blessed with being thrived just over the last decade or so. When I first came out here, it was on old. I started practicing in 1974. Now, obviously, it's not the same town. But new people, and the demographics here are young people and old people, but they're new people. And they're the kind of people that are the lifeblood, the influx of these kind of people to a city like Walton, a growing small city, not a small little village or a small town anymore, but a small city. This kind of a project with these kind of people moving in is the lifeblood of that kind of city. They're not only gonna walk, which is a huge asset in this project, to the grocery, to the restaurants. I tried to count the number of restaurants that they could walk to, and I couldn't memorize them all. Chinese, Italian, American, Mexican, and I lost track after that. And fast service up at the top of the hill. But they're also going to be a huge asset to Main Street. These people are going to shop on Main Street too. These are the demographics, the type of people that like the small mom and pop stores, that like to go down there on Saturday afternoon. They're going to populate the churches. Well, let me talk about the tax rate, because I don't know that that's significant to you. But it's going to increase your tax revenue significantly without adding any burden on services to speak of. Because you've already got the Walton Town Center, you've already got the firehouse, you got the water, you got the sewer. The build-out is already built in to when the entire Walton Town Center was approved. Those capacities are there. So, gosh, Jerry, that sounds pretty rosy. What are the downsides? Well, usually when I handle zone changes for clients, 95% might be correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a little exaggeration. The great majority of the issue is traffic, traffic, traffic. It's going to be unsafe for my kids. It's going to be unsafe for this or that. That's not an issue. We've got sidewalks. We've got no significant increase in traffic. We've got 3 entrances and exits. And I think a huge asset, and I know prospective owners here is going to think a huge asset, is it's because it's so walkable. I mean, you've got a public park across the street, second to none. I'm out there twice a week with soccer practice and all that stuff. And these people can walk to that, or they can stay within their own development, or they can walk up the sidewalk and shop. Anything. A department store like Kohl's and a shoe store like Kroger's next to this type of residential development gets rare. It's a tremendous asset to the city. So traffic's not a negative. School impact. You mentioned it, and so maybe it's one of your concerns. That study was done, and this is actual data for this type of product as built in various neighborhoods and school districts throughout northern Kentucky. 23% of the people who are going to buy these are under 30. 27% are over 55. So the majority of the people in here are either going to have very young kids or their kids are gone. And the study shows that there's going to be approximately 3 to 7, 3 and 3 is 6, maybe up to 10, but most likely 3 to 7 kids entering the school system spread out over the first 3 years until it's full. You got 3 schools here already. You got the public school system, you've got the Catholic school over there, and you've got the traditional Catholic school over there. So, burden on the school system doesn't exist. I've represented the Boone County school system since the early 80s, and really did a number on my zoning business because I couldn't take any zoning cases if the school system felt that it was going to negatively impact the school system. And they've taken care of that. Now I can do work in Boone County. But here, we also represent Walton Road schools, by the way. If there was an objection from the school system, I wouldn't be here because it's a fitness. There's no burden there. I can't think of any other negatives you would be concerned about. No noise, no odor, no traffic, no visiting. That's the big thing. No visiting. You get young people, you get old people, people in between, and they just want to be here. So I'm going to close with that. I do want to reserve some time to answer any questions or to provide any other facts that anybody else questions in the presentation of those matters.
Just as a procedure. Mary Herman. Carrie, I'm sorry. From the library.
Yes.
Have you got anything that you would like to add? I know you're here on your time and.
I'm here for the library. I'm the executive director of the Boone County Library System. I actually spent this afternoon with the architect planning the new Walton location, so we are working on it. Knowing that the planning commission approved this and waiting to see all the final votes, it's changed the way we're actually thinking about what we're putting in this building, how we are going to plan it, what kind of activities that we are going to offer. So we have now gone from planning for people who could be driving in to now having all of those walkers that we were talking about. I couldn't see very well on the plan, but Mr. Wainwright was saying not all of the sidewalks go around the outside. That kind of concerns me as the library director because we are now expecting a lot of those residents to walk to the library. We're already working with the senior apartments, connecting sidewalks from senior apartments to the library, so that's one concern that we have about people coming in. We like the idea of having residents close enough to walk to the library to use us. That's where the library is.
Can I ask a library question? So, I mean, I'm over 40 now, but say if I was like young and spry, like 28,
Yes.
right? Is that a high usage of the library, that age group?
If you are a parent, absolutely.
But gotcha. But there's not going to be any kids, according to this.
7.
3 to 7 children. So, if is that young demographic group high usage of a public library?
No, we lose them if they don't have kids until they get about 40. But he also said, I believe 27%, I was taking notes. They expect about 27% to be over 55 for this type of development. Did I get that number right?
Yes.
Those are absolutely libraries.
Sure. Yeah, just to give you the demographics of Walton, 71.2% is under the age of 44. So, I mean, though the study they may have used for other galleries, the demographics that Fort Wright is flip-flop what we are. That's an older community. We are a much younger community. 34% of Walton, by the census, is 18 or under.
Yes.
Right, so to say that we have 3 to 7 kids,
The library.
yeah. So first we got to get through, or do we actually have kids coming?
Yes.
We don't know yet. We'll find out.
I knew we should have sent the library to Mayor Whalen.
Anybody else have any questions of this nice lady? You all have any questions?
Inappropriate comment, but sure. You represent the county better than you the city.
And I'm sorry, it was Jerry, it was Jerry, right? Jerry, okay.
The attorney,
Yes.
Jerry Ducey.
Jerry Ducey. So, quick question on the sound study. So one was done years ago prior to the helicopter pad getting there, and now one of the conditions to the builder will be to do one before they build, correct?
To do what?
To do a sound study
Yes.
before they build. Why not do it now?
Why do it now? Why spend all that money if you're going to turn it down?
We're gonna spend the money, if it doesn't work out in your favor, you're spending the money anyway.
Well, they have to come back and do a different project. So I don't understand why it's an issue if they can't build until the sound study meets the EPA and all the federal regulations. And that's control. You got to guarantee nothing. This residential can't be built there if there's too much sound from the interior of the town center units.
Yeah, but then the zone change will be the zone change, right?
Yeah, but they can't build.
They can't build unless you have the sound study. It's part of the site plan submission.
For this site plan.
Yes.
Doesn't mean another site plan can't be submitted, correct?
Well, that has to go back through.
Okay. That's my point, right? I mean, I just don't want to dot the i's and cross the t's now.
So I agree with you. You got a lot of
We're to the train, so just give us the train. I know you said there was no noise in Walton, but there is. We got a train, an helicopter,
It's getting late, I just want to tell you how good I am.
fire
We
trucks.
tried cases in the old courthouse in Burlington. You had your choice. You either had the windows up and big sand and gravel trucks came by every 2 minutes and you couldn't hear the jury, the judge, nobody could hear. Or you closed the windows and there was no air conditioning and you were soaking wet in 10 minutes. Those were your choices then. So I understand the trends.
Yeah. Just a couple of points for the record. I know you said that there would be, I think one of the positives, there was going to be no impact to the city, right? Water, sewer, none of that, right? Because
It's already incapacitated.
so guaranteeing capacity and having capacity are two different things, right? So we need to upgrade our facilities now to meet capacity. You guys
You
work.
would rely on your city engineer.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do that. So, right, so again, you say there's no impact. There's things we have to do to be able to handle another 125 homes.
You can't build if there's no capacity. We're told capacity is
Sure.
there based on prior development.
Prior, yes,
Capacity
prior
is-
development. Things have happened.
all those pipes-
We've increased our
I
population.
just asked you guys,
by a lot.
one of you speak at
Sure.
a time, so we get it.
All of that is figured in the original complete town center, what could possibly go in here, and the pipes are sized to go.
Yeah, it's not it's a sewer capacity, right? We have to do a major sewer upgrade to be able to live up to our agreement to capacity, right? And that's gonna be over the next 2
The
years.
city engineer said.
If I may interject on that, and I got to call fair on this, Walton was going to have to upgrade its sewer plant, regardless of whether this development were to go in, regardless of whether senior living was going in, regardless of whether Chick-fil-A was going to go in, or Rafferty's, or Cracker Barrel, or anything. We were still going to have to do this.
Sure.
We are going to have to do that. So
This just expedites it faster, but
well, this is a project that's 8 years away. This
Not
is
8
a
years, it's not
1
8
to
years
2 year
away.
project for us. So let's be fair here.
Sure.
That's my interjection, and
yeah, no,
I'll
I'm
step back.
just stating the fact, I mean, to say there's no impact is just not accurate, right? So we can just say that, right? And the document says, in the,
I could say there's no detrimental impact. on water.
you said it was a win-win, right?
This is a huge win-win for the city.
So we can agree or disagree, right? It's not, it's, you don't live in Walton, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, these folks get to make a decision what is win-win for them. And that's just it. It's, okay. So you want to go, do we want to do the traffic study? Because I know you mentioned it.
I have
We
Wardell here,
we have-
Mr. Wainwright.
Yeah.
Wardell, I'm sorry, your last name, okay. Wardell is with Bayer Becker.
Okay.
They did the traffic study at the request of council.
The
Wardell,
floor is
floor
yours.
Well, with that, as the mayor indicated, my name is Cornell Wilcox, with Mayor Becker Engineering. And we did work on behalf of the city with Mr. Randall.
Thank you very much.
As I was saying, we did work with the city, Mr. Matt Logan, in the preparation of the traffic analysis. What you have in front of you is the executive summary at this point. But we've conducted all of the analysis that is typically expected at this point to have a better or fuller understanding of what the impacts would be for this particular development. The development at 125 units. First, I was kind of surprised, and especially speaking with Mr. Logan, to find out if, really whether there was a need to do a study or not. Typically, we have like a threshold in the traffic engineering industry for when any type of a traffic impact report is required. And that typically is around 100 trips. And the trips are the traffic that's coming in and going out. So the total of 100 in any peak period, typically the AM, which is 7 to 9 AM in the morning, and the PM is 4 to 6. Those are our design periods. That's when we have folks going back and forth to work, from home to work to home. And typically, as I'm sure you've all experienced, that's when you have your greater traffic congestion points. So again, just to give some order of magnitude and understanding from the traffic engineering perspective, the development at 125 units is only generating 62 trips in the AMP total, in and out, and then a total of 74 trips in the PMP. At that point, that's why I was wondering, because again, that's just a measure that's used. It doesn't mean it's an end all that says you do not have to do any type of traffic evaluation. So I just wanted to speak back with the city, just to find out exactly how far we needed to go with this evaluation, because based on the development, it didn't seem as if we were meeting that threshold. Are there any other issues we need to understand that maybe we need to take into consideration? And Matt just said, go through the process as if we're doing it for normal development. Don't worry about the trips. I want to see the capacity at the intersections. See if we need to put in turn lanes, the basic, information that we generally develop through these traffic evaluations. So we did the full analysis, and like I said, this is a summary here, but what we've concluded, and I'll open before you have any questions, what we basically concluded is the current operations that are occurring at the intersections that we evaluated, the main two critical intersections, of course, are on Mary Road at both ends of town. So we did some capacity analysis at those intersections. We looked at, I'm jumping around, my apologies. We had two different periods that we evaluated. The first would be the opening day, and we assumed that to be in the year 2027. And then 10 years, this is an ODOT rule, not ODOT, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet rule. ODOT has the same rule, but I'm in Kentucky. But this is a Kentucky Cabinet rule that you do 10 years on top of your opening day to understand the horizon or the design year period. So our design year period was 2037. So with that, we had to grow traffic. KYTC has a spreadsheet process that they use based on historical growth. Growth has been pretty robust here in Walton. I was pretty surprised. I mean, we usually see under 1%. I think yours was coming in close to 2%. That being the case, we took that information, we factored our existing traffic. We had the main two key intersections of Grub at town, and then we looked at the two intersections at Chestnut in town as well. And then the other intersection was Windward in town, were the existing intersections. Of course, the site is going to have 3 of its own, and we looked at those in the build period. But with the no build, which doesn't include the development, we look at the other 5 intersections. So in the traffic engineering industry, we compare our no build or existing against the build. And by understanding what the operations are at the no build level with that comparison, we want to be as close as possible, if not better. In some instances, we can improve and make things better. but more times than most, we don't want to degrade the operations below a certain level. Now, getting ready to get deep in the weeds, and hopefully I won't lose you, but it's a gradation process of A through F, and it's based on seconds of delay. C, of course, as we all know, is always good, A and B are great. D and E can be acceptable, especially for turning movements, especially in those critical peak periods. Typically, if you have an F, if it's a pre-existing F, KYTC doesn't want it to degrade too far beneath that. They use like about an 80% degradation rule. So again, coming back, bringing things back to a place where hopefully you understand it real clearly. When we did the analysis, basically what is currently happening on, I won't use the existing because the existing does not include any of the growth that we would anticipate without the development. We're saying this is the type of growth that will happen and traffic volumes that will increase without the development being constructed. So without the development, and then when we looked at the same similar period with the development for those peak hour periods, what we found is that the operations were relatively almost exactly the same. It's extremely very, very close. But it did not concern us to the point that there was a need for any additional improvements. Equally, another measure that KYTC wants you to look at is the volume of traffic in your turn lane movements, whether they be a right turn lane or a left turn lane, against the traffic that needs to continue on the roadway, opposing or advancing, to understand that we need to put in turn lane. A turn lane is required as well as part of the development. We looked at those measures as well. The volumes are really, really low at. Really, a turn lane, a right turn lane specifically was not warranted, so we are not recommending, or we did not advise to put in right turn lanes in either of the 3 drives, because there is currently that center two-way left turn lane. We did not do an evaluation of left turn, seeing that it looks like the city is currently putting in left turn bays. So through our discussion, I believe as the project develops and advances, the city will make a determination at that point how far a distance they may give them for the left turn bay. But even if they do not give a dedicated distance at all, the left turn provision is made available by having that center two-way left turn lane. So I believe that's, I'll stop right there. Sure, shaking your head.
No,
So
thank you.
before you guys
Yeah,
go,
that was great.
do you have now? You have not done the report itself.
The full documentation is not.
Okay. You have the summary, so we can introduce that into the record.
It was submitted, there was email today. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we need to. Any objection that going in?
It's the same one that we just showed you.
Yeah. And would you have any objection to when he does get the final report that we introduce that into the record?
It's just the backup data, right?
Well, it would be the more formal documentation. Again, that
When do you think that would be ready? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, that's a conversation we have been having with the city engineer. Normally, in this instance, when we do this work, we do typically, I've worked on both for the public sector and for a lot for the private sector. So there's just a process of, I want Matt to review our work in its totality.
Do you have a
Just to
ballpark?
make sure that, I would say, maybe probably in another week or so, we should get it in.
And
I'm sorry, Greg.
Jerry, you have no objection that when he gets that, we can put it in the record?
As long as it concludes, as long as these are the conclusions,
These are,
there's
the
no loss.
conclusions will not change
Okay.
unless something, new information is coming.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Wilcox, I would add that sooner the better.
We're on a time crunch.
We're on a time crunch regardless of what council wants to do. We are on a time crunch.
We're in a 2-week cycle, so we would need that
So
as
you
quick
need
as
in 2
possible.
weeks out of that.
At maximum.
Max.
At a
A
maximum.
week would be a minimum, yeah.
Tomorrow.
And there I will,
Sorry, at a max.
I just wanted to get that all
Yeah, no,
procedurally
no,
done
perfect.
now.
And
You're
thank
in
you,
charge.
nice presentation. I had a couple questions about the process. So, how many hours how many folks came and how many hours did they monitor?
How many folks came and how many hours did they monitor?
Yeah, for the the 7 to 9 window and the.
Your employees.
Your employees.
We did not have individuals there specifically through the whole period of time. We had the individuals that actually did it myself, did the installation of the equipment.
Okay.
We have it's called MyoVision. It's a camera recorded traffic counting system that we can equally go back to office and do further deep review if we need to. If there's something that has occurred in the numbers that is raising concern, we just want to kind of understand how traffic is operating. We have a video summary that we are able to review ourselves, but then the MyoVision company, they process that data and give us the information.
And how long was that equipment out for?
It was out for about 12 to 16 hours.
Okay. So, but the timing that you're saying, the windows were 7 to 9 and 4 to 6. Those are the measurement times though.
Correct.
Okay. How many 7 to 9s and how many 4 to 6s did you guys do?
How many days?
Yeah.
Oh, just one.
All right, so one 4 to 6, one 7 to 9.
Correct.
What day of the week was it?
It was, I believe it was on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
But it was either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Yeah, I think it was
which are the
4/12.
normal days.
Yeah, on Tuesday. I think it was the 12th, Tuesday, the 12th.
I'll
That's
take
what I
it.
have. So just for the record, that was spring break.
So the data was collected on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. And Mr. Wainwright, in response to your question, usually the typical or what's considered the most representative time for counting is Tuesday through Thursday. While school is in session, that's considered to be standard traffic patterns.
Correct.
And then the peak hours are isolated out of that. So that's the same kind of counting process that the state uses.
100%, Matt. And I just wanted that on the record because school was not in session. It was spring break. So the same methodology that is used in traffic studies was not used here because school was not in session. It was spring break.
I just want to verify, but
It's not. I have school-age children, both of them on spring break. I can guarantee you that. So though I appreciate the summary, it's inaccurate because it doesn't measure a timing that matches the timing that we need to understand when school's in session. So that's point one. Point two is, I just had a question on the exponential growth method that you use.
Okay.
So Walton, as you said, is historically different over the last, let's call it 20 years. So we have grown over the last 20 years 98.4%. So 50% every 10 years. And so the methodology of a 1-3-7 exponential growth method, right, over the next 15 years doesn't come close to what we've been projecting. So how do you go back and reconcile that number?
It's not about reconciliation, I guess, from our end. That's something we would have to go and speak with KYTC.
I think we're just a different animal, right? We were very small. We're not, and then we had exponential growth. So to use a traditional blended number that KYTC may use may not match our exponential, our point. When we're growing population of 50% over 10 years, to use a 1-3-7 exponential method it seems short, right? We're growing population 4.5% per year.
And again, I won't argue the point, except that the spread table that is provided to us.
And I know it's accepted, 100%. This isn't an argument about what's accepted methodology.
We do not create the number. They actually produce the number. And I'm sure it's based on whatever logarithmic equations they have for trends. It may not be, quote unquote, an isolated snapshot of one moment, but more trends, how they think trends are going to occur.
Agreed.
As opposed to giving that absolute number, because that may fit for today, but if the trend over this, it was a 15-year period that the traffic volumes were being recorded. So the trend may be slightly off because every year didn't grow at the same rate.
But for us, every year did grow at the same rate for the last 20 years. So just for the record, I totally appreciate.
Guys, one of you talk at a time.
Yeah, no, and I just want to make sure, I totally appreciate everything you brought to the table. Super intelligent on this subject, and everything matches everything I've researched, so thank you. For the record, I just want to show that from 2000 to 2010, Walton grew by 48.9%, and from 2010 to 2020, it grew by 50%. right? So we've had the same exponential growth year over year. And so I just want to say for the record, it's my opinion, not in your field, just my opinion, that using a small multiplier like that is not accurate to our current situation. And I just wanted that on the record. But I appreciate, and I understand why you used it, because that's the method you're supposed to use. And so that wasn't the fact. So, but just to go back to point one, you know, maybe Matt, you have Matt Bogan has an opinion on, you know, the executive summary is not, in my opinion, not usable, because it doesn't match the method that is considered the method that you would use for a traffic study. So Matt, what say you in regards to that one?
As far as, where do you want me to start?
Yeah, point one, just being on spring break.
Okay. The counting method, I mean, with it being spring break, you know, I mean, I can't.
Does anybody else?
Hey, Matt, hang on. Matt, hang on 1 second.
Does anybody else have any questions of this fine gentleman?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it, Howard.
Well, we'll let Matt finish up. I just want
Yeah,
to make sure.
let Matt finish his question. We were just trying to determine whether we could relieve Mr. Wilcox of his time. So,
Of the city's time.
of the city's time, yes. Matt, continue on. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Sure. I don't think there's a good, you know, estimation or formula or any way to quantify how traffic patterns do differ in out-of-school periods. And, you know, in this case, it was, you know, myself and Mayor Becker were doing the best we could to squeeze this in, you know, get the data collected, processed in time for this hearing. You know, obviously we were on a short schedule, and they were, you know, kind enough to fit us in amongst all their other jobs.
And we greatly appreciate that you fit us in. I mean, thank you.
Yeah. As far as the traffic projections grow, yeah, I mean, I understand the point that you're arguing, you know, Mr. Wainwright, as far as the rapid growth that Walton has seen. I didn't think that the numbers, the growth factors that Wardell provided were inaccurate necessarily, or you know, overly, you know, lowball, I guess. And let's see if there's anything else in here that's gonna impact. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's, you know, going with a larger growth factor is going to really, I mean, traffic patterns within Walton Town Center, you know, may increase, but it's not going to, you know, account for anything for this particular development, right? The traffic patterns, the traffic generated by this development are based on the number of dwelling units. So using a larger growth factor for the surrounding traffic is not going to change this development. Yeah, there may be, you know, more trips within the development that they're going to be, you know, conflicting with, but you know, that's something that the development's going to be seeing anyway, and it's not really something that is going to result in more, you know, different impacts for this development, you know, different infrastructure improvements that would be required. You know, it would just be necessary for the town center in general.
And Matt, if I can jump back in real quickly, had we, again, I didn't know, because we worked under the gun, I got to get out and get going. So had we waited, I mean, we probably would not even have the results for you today. But that notwithstanding, when you look at the numbers also, we were very conservative in our approach. With it being a shopping center there, existing, and with this being a residential development, there's another process within the traffic, understanding the traffic numbers that we typically would use, and that's called a multi-use reduction. because we know everyone that's there, that's a resident, they're not necessarily going to drive up to the program. They're going to walk. And similarly, there may be some workers. So some of the volume with that multi-purpose or that multi-use reduction allows, and this is the national standards, they allow us to reduce the numbers to better estimate what the actual impacts and the actual volumes will be on the road network. So while we may have caught a summer period, so to speak, because the kids were not in school, we also did not reduce the data in a process that we could have, again, trying to be conservative.
Sure, and I get it, and maybe it's just me, I live in an apartment as well. I don't know if anyone's ever walked with like 8 or 9 bags from Kroger. Like, I don't know if anyone has, but it ain't fun. Right, so I understand the premise. I understand the premise. I just don't know if it really matches reality sometimes when we say that we can reduce. Glad you didn't, right? Because we already reduced because people weren't in town, right? And so thank you for not reducing even more. But that's all I have. Dan, you had your...
Howard, do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Did your study look at the southbound off-ramp on I-75?
We did not go to the ramps at all.
Okay.
We focused specifically on the 2 main signalized intersections on the main corridor and 14 that actually came into the site.
Okay.
Again, I mean, under a norm, we may have expanded it out to include the interstate, but again, that would have taken more time to try and get that data acquired. And in that instance, we probably would have had to speak with KYTC because they control those intersections. They control these 2, but they definitely control the ramps. And in more times than most, intersections that are contiguous or close to ramps, the ramps are the overrider. So you want to make sure you give priority to, the folks that are getting in on the ramps, which tends to affect or impact the other signals that are part of that system. So we actually may have gotten a better bang for our buck by not dealing with the interstate ramp. But again, like I said, because this was such a fast-moving, project, unfortunately, we may have missed. Again, I don't know if that would have changed anything, but
I got
you asked the question,
Yep.
not me.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Howard?
I had a business owner ask this question today. The traffic study take into consideration on both intersections on Town Center, if one intersection diverted a certain type of traffic to the other, would that make a difference in the study or not?
You're talking under the existing?
Yeah.
And when you say diverted traffic, what do you mean?
Well, I'm talking about specific, like truck traffic. If they had the trucks go in at the other end of Town Center versus both ends.
We took the data as it was produced. We did not go in and synthesize it or try and make it perform better or a way we think or thought it may perform better.
So it wouldn't change the numbers?
It would. I'm not sure that it changed the numbers or not. Again, that we did not look at that measure.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, all we asked Mayor Becker to look at was the build and no build condition relative to this development with, like, as Wardell said, the existing traffic patterns. Again, time being a factor and so many possible scenarios that we could have explored. We tried to keep things straight, just so we didn't get bogged down with a lot of different scenarios and different what if situations.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else on council have any questions? Mr. Ducey, do you have any questions?
No, thank you. Just encourage everybody on the council to read the traffic studies.
Does anybody have any objection to Wardell being able to excuse himself?
No?
I can say,
You're good.
not to worry.
Thank you for
It's
your...
totally up to you, Wardell. Thank you very much. We appreciate
coming
you.
out.
Joey next.
Set it there.
Chief? I know when we talked last council meeting, you said you were going to make an attendance you have anything to add for the record?
Chief, if you wouldn't mind, would you come to the mic here?
Good evening. Based on information I'll sit back and listen to tonight, one, I'd just like to re-emphasize to council that I'm not here for or against this project. I'm not the decision maker with it. I just feel it's my responsibility from the fire department's perspective to present you all the information that I feel we need to at least consider with making an informed decision, whatever that decision may be. What the developer of this project and property, they did submit site plans to us early on. We did request some changes to make it more accessible for emergency apparatus to access the different buildings, different areas. And they did make those changes as requested, no problems, no questions asked, without hesitation. As I stated, previously in a council meeting, the only concern from the fire department's perspective is the emergency apparatus and traffic as far as condo units, living units with young children. They're out playing, whatnot, if they're not being properly supervised by parents, lights, sirens, that type of thing, it does attract children's attention. So, that is a concern for us. We was previously located on High School Court residential area, and that was a concern for us then. So, we're very vigilant and concerned about that occurring again, obviously. With regards to the noise, I know there was talk about noise studies being conducted in that. I don't know that the concern from information I've received in the past and my experiences is that the noise is going to be detrimental or harmful to anybody. But with Air Caribbean directly behind us now, as it is, I've had several citizens contact me complaining just from Air Care lifting off and flying over town. So it's not so much a matter of them being there on the helipad and causing some kind of harm. It's just complaints in general. And I'm sure I don't need to tell the mayor and council about the complaints about zoophones and that kind of so that boils down to just people not wanting to be disturbed in the privacy of the residents, and I understand that. So again, with that, building being right in front of the fire station, we are blowing the sirens, checking equipment, while out noise, things like that, a lot of times, day and night. So again, I want to make the city council aware of that. As far as the traffic itself is not really a concern for us from a fire department perspective. Whether it's residential being built back there or commercial or industrial for that matter, being some type of warehouse or factory, restaurants, some type of other commercial business, there's going to be traffic coming out of those businesses. So, from a fire department standpoint, we don't have any real concerns as far as the traffic other than unsupervised children.
Joey, just for the, I know you do normally, and thank you, give your report on a regular basis at council on the amount of runs that you guys run, just for the record, on average, how many monthly runs come out of the firehouse?
We do about 100 to 120 runs a month.
Okay.
And that's fire and EMS.
That's all I got.
Chief, is that as a district as a whole, or is that,
Yeah, that's as a whole.
that's, that as a whole, so that's out of
Yes.
the Richwood shop and the fire district?
This year, within the city limits, with be, which this station covers more than just the city limits.
Sure.
Covers the southern half of the district, which extends all the way down to each road in Kent County. But just within the city limits itself, I believe our run volume within the city limits is right at 50%.
So out of, what was that number, average, rough average, you said
I
again?
believe it's about 120 a month.
120, but that includes Firehouse and
Yes,
the Richwood shop.
yes.
And 50% of that is within the city limits. So let's say
Well-
60 runs per month within the city limits, is that correct?
This station here is busier than our Station 2 in Richwood.
Fair enough.
So I'd say within the city limits alone, we're probably looking at about, these are just guesstimation numbers. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say about 45 runs, 50 runs, 30 a month on average within the city limits.
Okay. Council, questions for Chief?
Thank you.
Chief, thank you so much.
Mr. Dusing, do you have any
Mr.
questions?
Deussen, yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
We have Matt Bogan as well, and then we'll get the citizen comments.
Now, Fisher Homes?
Fisher Holmes, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we got you guys too. Sorry, I apologize. I told Greg he was going to run this show.
And then you jumped in.
No, I jumped in, I'm sorry.
My name is John Haas. I'm with Fisher Homes. We've been building this gallery condo building for the last 15 years. And again, the percentage of children, I know that's been brought up, the number of children that end up living in a gallery community is very, very small. Total, could be 10, 15 children for the whole development. I mean, it is not a lot. And we took all the statistics and gave it to Tom Morgan with Boone County when we were going through all the zoning stuff. So that's one thing. Fisher has built in Walton over the years. Right now we're building out Austin Valley, and that's going very, very well for us. We started in there a couple of years ago. So we're building our single family homes there. We felt that this was a great opportunity to build our condos. One of the big differences is it's where nobody has to take care of any of the outside stuff. Basically we're creating a condominium association. So, all the landscaping is taken care of. We're going to have HOA or condo docks where you're not going to have, trucks on blocks or whatever. You're not going to have garbage around. It's going to be a top-notch development. And as you saw, the landscaping, we're going to have landscaping around the whole perimeter. Going to have a small park in there. And our preference is probably not to have the kids' playground because really there's not going to be the kids there. Our preference is to go the other direction, as you asked the question before. One of the big things, though, from a condominium standpoint is the price. Because we're building up, and you got your first and second floor. These units these homes will be starting around $170,000, which is a very good price in today's market. So a lot of people that are living in apartments or whatever can say, what's happening to all the apartments? The rents are through the roof. I mean, we've had our best couple of years at Fisher, when COVID started, believe it or not. And you guys have seen, all the statistics out there. So we feel that this is a great product to bring to Walton. We think that, we will sell well here, and we would like your support. So if anybody has any other questions for me, happy to answer them.
In a desired district, do you still stand by your 3 to 7 children? Houses go on the market and they're being sold for over the asking price because this is a desired location to raise your children. So how is it that we would think that with this development brings 3 to 7 children when people are trying to get in here so they can put their children through Walton Vernon School
Well,
District?
we looked at all the statistics from every county that we build these in, Boone County, Kenton County, Kendall County, Lawrenceburg. And the history has shown that we just don't have the children that ever move in. I mean, normally 40% of the people that buy, they're single. So that's one individual. The others are couples. And then the last thing, you do have, a few divorcees that end up moving in. And you end up having a lot of retirees. So we just don't see it. That's our statistics from over the year after year after year from every community that we have. I mean, if we're going to have families, that's where they're going to build out of Austin Valley and get a bigger home, get a yard and stuff for the kids to play and everything.
Well, families are gonna do what they can afford, so if
Sure.
you're offering
I get that.
$175,000 here where I can afford and raise my children, or I can buy your $300,000, $400,000 home in Austin Valley, financially, if I could, I would probably choose the family dwelling, right?
Sure, right.
But if not, then that's going to suffice because I want to get my children into school here. And that's where we go back to, there's no way 125 units could ever yield 3 to 10 children. That's fuzzy math, in my opinion.
John, we're going 2-bedroom.
And
All the units are 2-bedroom.
okay, and I would ask, and this is just rhetorical because I'm not sure anybody has the facts, but how many, as you mentioned, retired people, how many grandparents are raising their school-aged grandchildren now? It's happening. So again, fuzzy math, these are all assumptions. There's nothing solid or factual.
I'm just giving you the facts that I got from our marketing department is what's happened over the years. So those are our numbers at this.
Yeah.
Well, whether it's different for,
Well, this is Walton, and it's a desired school district, where maybe
Sure.
somewhere in Indiana might not be, but this is desired for school-aged children.
Yeah, and I looked at and first off, thank you for coming, and the product is good. I mean, I've looked at it, they look great.
Sure.
I mean, so I was looking at the ones in the Grove, sold out. I mean, you guys are selling them like hotcakes. And
Right.
so, but that area, it's an old area. I mean, you're not gonna see a lot of kids in Fort Wright going up, and I was like, Park Hills, like who wants to go Park Hills? So it's like, people wanna move into areas. So I just wanna take it point by point on this one. I wanna first start with, on the staff report, it says the application states all the condominiums will be 2-bedroom units. So I just have a question about the Hayward. So the Hayward shows 3 bedrooms.
there's like 2 bedrooms with a study, and that's what people end up using it for.
So again, what people use it for, they're gonna own it, so they can use it for whatever they want.
Sure.
But is it a 3-bedroom apartment? Because the definition of a bedroom is,
The way that we sell it is a 2-bedroom with a study.
I know the way you sell it, I'm just asking, is the room a bedroom?
Is the room a bedroom?
Yes. So I'll give you a definition of the bedroom for the record. So it means you have to have 2 means of egress, a ceiling height of minimum of 7 feet, 7 feet in horizontal space, a window opening of 5.7 square feet. It has to be heated and cooled, and square footage is roughly 70, 80 square feet. And the study is showing by 11 by 11 estimate. So again, I would ask, is it a bedroom? And are we just marking it differently as a 2-bedroom? Because really it's a 3-bedroom, right? But 3-bedroom means families, and we're not going, and we want to make it as a 2-bedroom, and we're single, and we're not going to have anything to hurt the school, and school's on board because we tell them 10 kids. But that's a bedroom, right? By definition, based on HUD and everything else that's associated with it. So again, I'd ask the question, is it a 3-bedroom? Are you selling 3-bedroom apartments? Condos.
Based on that definition, I guess you could say it's a bedroom.
Okay.
But that's not how we market it.
Got it. There's a difference between marketing, because once I buy it, I can do whatever I want with it,
Sure.
right? This is not a rental, I
Sure.
can't put minimums on folks, I own it, right? I have whatever I can put in there based on whatever. So I just want for the record to show the application, the way it was stated in the application is different than fact, right? So I know you said, hey, we're just gonna state facts, and I'm just stating fact. And the fact is, that's a bedroom. It's a 3-bedroom by HUD definition. It just is what it is. You can say what you want, but I'll state facts. And so that's really my question there is, why didn't we just call it 3-bedroom? Why are we saying we're doing 2 bedrooms when it's really 3 bedrooms?
because they needed the school support, and the school would not support three
Right, and so
bedroom
so they're not gonna, the school, 100%, the school's gonna say, whoa, hold on. Of course they're not gonna have, an issue. When we tell them, oh, it's only gonna be 10 to 25 children and 125 owned, and that's why I keep on saying owned, they're owned condos, right? So once I buy it, if I wanna put 7 people in there, I can do whatever I want, I own it. And so that's a difference from a rental, or where I can put some type of bedroom number or people restrictions, but once I own it, I can do what I want. Inside of the documents of the condo association.
Sure.
Correct, so, okay. That's all I had for you.
Anybody else up here have any questions? This gentleman?
What would be the time frame from like you guys pour the first foundation to the development is complete? Like assuming things are going the way they're going now, you know?
Time frame to complete it all. What do we think?
We got 3 phases.
Yeah. We were looking at 3 different phases of how we were going to break this up. More than likely, we're probably talking about 4 years from start to finish. Again, it all depends how the economy goes. You know, if it's still going good, you know, it could be less. If it slows down, it could take a little bit more. So
So it's not an 8-year phase?
8 years?
Yeah,
No, I don't think so.
1 second. So I thought that was, and maybe I'm inaccurate, I'm glad from Boone County, wasn't it a phased-in approach of 8 years? Yes. And wasn't that one of the criteria of the mixed use in using that 308 section, that is a phased, all multi-residential or phased approaches?
It is phased, but there is no time limit set in the zoning regulations. And
So phases in theory, right?
phase- no,
So it's as fast as you can build it.
It's not a theory. It is a function of the development. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. It is up to the developer.
Just take a second with them.
It will pass.
It is up to the developer to determine the length of those phases. But phasing, as opposed to you come in and you build 100, whatever it is, whatever the proposal is, it's all dumped at one point. So you have beginning, end, nothing in between, and that's it. The developer goes away.
That's fair. So phase 1, so hypothetically, right, since there's no technical phase regulations, phase 1 could be 110. Phase 2 could be 5. Phase 3 could be 3.
No,
and phase 4
it's
could be
what
2.
the developer has
Right.
submitted.
Have they submitted the phases? I didn't see it in the record, but maybe I missed it.
I can tell you what we're planning.
Yeah, because that
We're
wasn't in the
planning on
record.
phase 1 being 40 homes,
Okay.
phase 2 being 45, and phase 3 being 40.
That might have been on that one graphic.
And I can't
We
remember.
got the phases.
Yeah.
But
I had
again,
that
that
one
time frame is, as you mentioned, it could be with the economy. If it's a great economy, we're moving forward probably quicker than if it's a faltering economy. So there's, even though you have a phase set up, is there a time frame with those phases?
Well, once the first 40 units are put on the ground, we're going to sell. We're going to, once one building sells, we start the next building, then the next building. These buildings aren't just built overnight,
No.
10-unit building takes at least 6 months these days with the sub-base and short of materials and all that. So, we just walk ourselves through each phase. And, once we think that things are going good, then we'll give notice to the developer, say, go ahead and put phase 2 on the ground. Then they'll go ahead and develop phase 2, and then we'll start building phase 2. So, I can't give you an exact number,
It was just billed as over an 8-year period, is what it was billed as, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just different than what the record stated.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions up here? I think Mr. Dusing had a question. It looks like he's raising his
I got a
hand.
couple of questions.
For me?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My living room's bigger than that legal definition of a bedroom. Does that make it a bedroom?
I would not think so.
I put a bed in it, but that doesn't make it a bedroom, does it?
No.
This third room that's a study in the Hawthorne model, it doesn't have any closets, does it?
Yes, it does.
Does not.
It's not.
Well, let's go to the record. It was submitted, and then one second.
You want to comment on that, Kevin?
That's not owned, there's no problem. That's all right.
Just have one witness. Just fine. You can call him back and deal with it, but
It's a silly
just to
point.
smooth it, let's just go smoothly.
I mean, it's a silly point.
Okay, so here's what was submitted to the record in the Boone County Planning, and I'll point to this right here in study bedroom 3 that shows a closet.
And I'm telling you, there's no closets in this model.
So then why would it be submitted in the record?
Well, because that's a pro forma.
Well, we would want an accurate record to make an accurate decision.
Here's accuracy. There
I'm
is
sta-
no closet in that third room. It's
Okay.
designed to be a study. Correct?
Study/bedroom number 3.
He's not agreeing, is that
He's
correct?
he's not agreeing, so again,
I
either you don't know, and that's fine. If you say you don't know, that's fine, you can get back
I
to
don't
us,
have
and that's totally appropriate, right?
I don't have
But
that
according to every
in front of me.
documentation I see here, and I saw on Fisher's website today, is that the Hawthorne 3 bedroom has a closet. And so hence by definition, it's a bedroom, not a study. The owner can choose to use it however they want. They can put an aquarium in there if they wanted to.
True.
We're not going to call it the ocean. But what we can call it is a bedroom because it fits the definition of a bedroom.
Facts.
I'll give him that.
What's the window size for that room?
Based on this, it shows the same as every other one in the picture. So unless, again, the picture is inaccurate, and if you can, I can share the record if you guys want to see it. But it says it shows the same as all the way around. So again, if we get accurate information, we can help make a better decision.
I find it kind of that you question our honesty and integrity that you have.
He's questioning the record.
Question the record. I'm not questioning integrity. When someone says, "Hey, there's not a closet," there's a closet.
Here, or is that something he got?
That's what we were provided.
Was that in here? I just
Yes.
want to make sure it's in the record, because
It's in the record that we were given from.
if it's not in theirs, I want to make sure you put it
But
in.
it's so collateral
That's
to what the
opinion.
point is here, ma'am.
But sir, that's opinion. You said we were going to talk about facts, and he's pointing out facts, and you now want to revert back to opinion.
I'm not giving an opinion. I'm
sounded like it.
suggesting that this topic was relevant to how many kids are going to be generated to school.
Yes, it is very relevant
Yes,
to have a
and
3-bedroom
he has
apartment.
testified that this product, based on all their experience over 15 years, generates this number of kids. And I'll put this in the record.
It's already in there. I have a quick question. So if I want to if I want to buy a house or a condo from you, and I have 5
Jared, you
children,
wanna
I have
put that
5
in?
children, are you allowed not to sell that condo to me by law?
We would have to sell that to you.
You're 100%.
Yes,
What if I had 10 children?
we would have to sell it.
You'd have to sell it. Okay, I just want to make sure that was on the record, that we can say what we're marketing it to, right? We can put single divorcees and you know, retirees and young professionals that are all of a sudden now it's the big
I'll
news.
just tell you that.
However, I
I'll just
understand
tell
what
you
you're
that we have never sold a condo with 5 kids.
Okay.
Never, ever. You know.
You couldn't tell me if you could anyway, or if you did anyway.
Well, I'm telling you, we have never done it. Never in any of our communities.
I get it. I'm just saying this is an
And we have
environment,
sold
according to
in very
Terry.
good schools.
One of you speak at a time.
Just like Walton. So,
So Walton Verona Schools is one of those ones that people want to go to. They want to move into. And a lot of times they're priced out of it. And so a $170,000 condo prices them back into the market because there's not enough rentals, right? And so if I have multiple children, it is cheaper to come in than as you said, apartment costs are going up, right? I can own. And that's just the point. The point is I'm just questioning the record. It wasn't anything about you, your integrity. I never want to check anyone's integrity. But at the end of the day, I was just going off of what I was given. And so those were the questions I had.
Just one point. to answer, they might not be able to sell to somebody that has 5 kids, or they might not be able to deny them 5 or 10 kids, but I personally know there's a thing called Child Protective Services. There's a certain amount of kids you could put in 1 square
Yeah, I can tell you.
space.
Yes, but it's.
And that might happen, John. No, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There's trailers, I'm sure, all over
I don't know
College
what the
Green.
law is for the number of kids per bedroom, so.
It's roughly 2 not of the same sex, past a certain age.
Right.
There's laws. There's a KRS for it. I don't have it in front of me.
No,
But
there is an eventual
I just-
stopping point, right, to what you buy, but the point is,
Sure.
for the record is, that a builder can market, or anyone can market whatever they want, but it does not mean that that's the targeted audience that shows up and buys.
I
something.
just
I just want to make sure that's clear, because in the staff report, it says that they will sell to young professionals and divorcees, that they will, not they may, right? And that's a distinction that should be made, because it's illegal not to sell to whoever comes up and shows up with $170,000, right? So that's just the point.
Okay.
Fair.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions, this gentleman?
No, thank you.
The city of Walton, before we get into citizens' comments, the city of Walton has got Matt Bogan on the clock here. If we can get Matt entered into the record and get him off of taxpayer dollar. Matt, would you, does anybody have any objections?
Is his report in the record?
It is in the record.
Yes. Well, it's not on the record. It came in an email. We need to have it.
Yeah, but you all need to add it to the
needs to
record.
be-
We have it. We'll enter it. Mr.
Any
Newsom,
objection?
you have that, correct?
We like it.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
floor's yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I will not recap portions of the report that were covered by Mr. Schwartz's presentation. He, went over the terms of the zone, the land use map, the comprehensive plan. One of the things that actually a couple things. Yep. The word covered so far. One is crash history in the area. I pulled up the crash records on the state's public database, looked at the previous 3-year period for Town Center Drive, pretty much from either endpoint of Kroger Drive and then the south part with the intersection with Munster Lane. There was only 1 crash reported in the last 3 years. That was a same direction side swipe with 2 vehicles. There was property damage with the vehicles, and I think maybe there was a sign that was hit. No injuries reported. There, as we discussed previously in council, there is a known issue with speeding in the rear part of the development, as it currently there's not much in the way of development. There's a series of vacant lots, and then transitions in the back to the Dollar General Center, the area for their warehouse, and then the corrosion resistor reinforcement. So the speed is less of an issue up in the northern half of the development, the more built-up development. And, as these lots started to build up, Crossing, the library, Tractor Supply, potentially this development, I think that the speeds will probably go down just, due to, an increase in traffic volumes. It's not going to seem quite so much as an open drag strip, so to speak, as it is right now. But it is something to be mindful of enforcement, especially as the development is first opening, opening the first phase, and traffic patterns are changing. The other thing I wanted to mention, or the next thing I want to mention is, I did some comparison of different land uses that fit within the existing C2 zoning. So that's, things that would not require a zone change through the county or hearing such as this. So Wardell mentioned in his report that 100 vehicle trips per hour is considered the threshold when a full traffic impact study would be required. Two individual uses that I found did cross that threshold by a significant margin. One would be a home improvement superstore. That's the land use code in the manual. So that would be, a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And the other would be a high turnover restaurant. Something like a Chipotle. Something where it's, the fast casual classification, I guess, is the best analog of that. There were some other uses that, there were a few that fell below that of the condos. Hotel, medical or dental office. Those are around 50 to 60 trips in the peak hour. And then there were some others that were above that. Office, general office use was around 90 trips per hour. Sit-down restaurant, about 42 vehicles in the morning, the AM peak, 77 in the PM peak. But some of those smaller uses, the medical office, the restaurants, those are small enough volume, or floor space, that the lot would probably be split into two, and you would have some combination of land uses on that parcel, rather than using, just a single one with a lot of green space around or a lot of landscape buffer. So probably, any of those two land uses would still put you above the condos. So from that standpoint, residential is one of the less impactful uses that you guys would see for this property. So, I know the city is definitely interested in attracting sit-down restaurants, but at the same time being concerned about traffic and congestion and queuing at Mary Grubbs Highway. Those uses are going to be more impactful than the condos would be. So that's, I wanted to make sure that was on the record. And then council had asked me to look at various infrastructure improvements, just, being aware of existing traffic existing traffic congestion in the development, gaps in sidewalk connectivity, lack of street lighting in the back, things like that. So the first thing that they asked me to check into was widening Town Center Drive, excuse me, to add an additional lane. That would be for the east half of the development. So Wenstrup Lane, east, going past Coles and then up Mary Grubbs. Presumably adding capacity for leaving the family dollar development and getting back to interstate. That one, it has a lot of unknowns in terms of utility relocation, guardrail, signal rebuild, things that would be required, but harder to quantify without doing a survey, field surveying and design. But I estimated 40,000 for engineering and surveying on that, 423,000 for that's roadway, curbs, sidewalk relocation, utilities, guardrail, and rebuilding the signal at Mary Grubbs, which would almost certainly be required by the state to accommodate that additional lane. Sidewalk connections to Kroger. Adding one on the Kroger Drive frontage on the north side of this property, I estimated that at $57,300. But in my opinion, to meet the county subdivision regulations, I think that would be included in the site plan review as a comment that we would provide, the city would provide. And the site plan that I had, or the concept plan I had received on the record, I did not see any sidewalks on that side, but yeah, I provided a comment to Planning Commission that that would be one of my comments provided when we got the plans. And that's also adding crosswalks on Kroger Drive to connect to the northern half of the development. Also, the other gap that is present right now is on lot 14. That is the one immediately north of this site, southeast of Kroger. That sidewalk would be approximately $15,600 to install, but that would also be required of the developer when lot 14 is up for development. So their site division, their site plan review would require those sidewalks, and so I don't know that there's necessarily need to do it at this stage in the game. And then the third one that was requested is street lighting on Town Center Drive. So this is not internal lighting on the site, for parking areas or, only lighting or anything like that. This is strictly around the perimeter of the site for vehicles on the roadway, sidewalks, for walking, jogging, whatever. We had gotten, Councilman Stevens had asked us to look into this previously, so we had gotten quotes from Duke Energy and from a solar lighting vendor. So I took their unit costs and, extrapolated this to the perimeter around the site, similar spacing and all that. To do LED lighting through Duke would be about $117,550 plus an annual operating cost of $7,056. Or the solar lighting, same spacing and all that, would be $48,300. So, those are, as far as, if those are all items that would be requested of the developer. I could see, definitely the sidewalks. The lighting, I think, would be, up to council's discretion. The city will be taking those over, taking over that lighting once the, as a public facility, once the subdivision was, or the condo development was complete. Lighting, based on the numbers that I've seen from Mayor Becker, I don't think that, this development is adding enough traffic to warrant that widening. I think that's something that's just, that's going on currently. That's current truck traffic exiting the Dollar General warehouse. And I think that's, trying to add capacity for that traffic is the primary motivating factor there. So, did anybody have any questions about the report?
Matt, just for, again, thank you. I know you're ill, so I appreciate you being on. And just for the record, does Cardinal Engineering represent any of the parties involved in this?
We do design work for Fisher. I personally am not heavily involved with that side of things. I occasionally do some permitting work, their encroachment permits for KYTC, just because I have work experience that side of things. However, I have minimal direct involvement with Fisher, and do not really directly represent them as a client. My primary professional responsibility is to the city. You guys are my bread and butter. So, I'm
and I appreciate it, and that wasn't meant to be any smudge on your reputation or anything. That was just for the record, just that Cardinal Engineering, you're an employee of them, does do work for parties involved in this. And I just wanted that on the record. It's not about you. We appreciate the work you do for the city. And we hope one day to get the bridge built. So we need you focused on that. That's all really I had. I think we covered most things throughout the other presentations. I could, yeah, you know what, I like it. Can we talk about the crash data? So you went back 3 years to a part of the town center that was undeveloped. Why not do from both entrances all the way through to get a better representation of total possibilities of crash data other than just doing it on a subsection of a street that was undeveloped?
Sure. The main thing was the downside of the public database is I don't get access to the full reports, and there is a lot of background noise, so to speak, in a development like this. You get every fender bender that happened in the parking lot at Kroger. It's hard to weed those out. The state police has access to the full database. They can get the full reports and then read the officer's description of what happened. So that was the main thing. I was trying to keep out those all the parking. I actually, the first time I ran it, I went a little bit farther up on my search area, and it did. I don't remember the exact number, but it did start to turn out a bunch of things that appeared to be in parking lots. The other thing was, I wanted to see, in conjunction with the speeding reports, what was going on. If we were seeing collisions related to the speed issues that have been measured by Boone County Public Works last year.
Yeah, no, and I understand it's a bit in the weeds. I just want just to most likely, right? If you were to go more in depth or put your circle out farther, we'd find much more crashes than one, right? Between both entranceways and the rest of the we take out Kroger parking lot because everyone's going to walk there now. So if we take that out, we would say you saw 5, 20? Like what do you think? Because Boone County last time I think when they reported once there was 2 in one month report to us in 1 month, and this was a 3-year thing. So I just wonder, right, if we went more in depth and took out the parking lot, what we would find. And again, that doesn't have to be an answer now because I know you didn't go that deep, but just for the record, I just want we're measuring a report radius or an accident radius on a section of street that's undeveloped, and right. So of course, the accident data is going to show very little accidents when there's no one there. So
well, the Family Dollar warehouse was open for what, a year and a half?
1 year and 4 months.
1 year, yeah. Excuse me. Corrosion resistant reinforcement that's been open, for a portion of that. So, it's not just.
Yeah. No, I get it. It was more rhetorical, Matt. I totally understand.
Yeah.
It was more rhetorical.
And I can run that. I can run that in the morning and see what I come up with. And if it's also I can still enter that in the record.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, we'd appreciate it. And then if you could amend the record, I appreciate it.
Sure, and I'll try to, as best as I can, I'll give you the total number, and I'll try to screen out the ones that appear to be off-road, or in the parking areas.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Anybody up here have any questions of Matt? Mr. Ducey, do you have any questions?
Let me just ask one. Mr. Bowden, did any of the discussion you just had with council and the questions you answered, none of that would change your conclusion, is that correct? Did you not see a significant justification for rejecting the recommendation of the Boone County Planning Commission? Is that a fair statement?
I don't know.
I agree with that. Yes. The discussion of bedroom use or what is and is not a bedroom.
Matt, 1 second. Train.
Sure. All right. I thought it was getting dry.
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. As far as the discussion of, is the study a bedroom or not, that is not going to have any impact on our traffic numbers. It's dwelling units alone. So, that's not going to, result in more traffic congestion, anything like that. So, no, nothing that's come up tonight has, it would, impact the findings of my report, actually.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, the other residential uses in the town center, were those already zoned properly?
Those are conditional use.
Well, it was
Conditional
the
use
Union
is already
Crossing was a
zoning.
conditional use, correct?
Yeah, so just, even with conditional use, did they need a zoning change?
Not that I'm aware of. The name is escaping me. The other one, the development on Surface Road.
We call that Howie's apartment.
Right. Howie's Apartments.
They're both Wona Cooper properties.
I do not recall on that one. I was not involved with site plan or zone change review at that point in time, so I'm not certain.
Okay, that's all I got, Matt. Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Bogan? All right, Matt, thank you. Will you stick around in case, or you can get off if nobody.
Well, maybe citizen comments, there might be some that maybe he can.
Do you all have any witnesses that you haven't called or haven't? Have you got anybody that you want to call before we go to
No, we're fine.
the public
Thank you.
comment?
Yes, sir.
And do we have anybody, school board members or representatives from the school district here? No? Well, I know you're a teacher, but you're not, you're here as a citizen, correct?
You're both.
All right. So we'll state, let that be shown. Let's start as I say.
Go for it.
If you wouldn't mind, please state your name and
Your address.
your address, if you don't mind.
Why don't we move the mic to the podium?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can podium it. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Coleman. I live at 111 North Main Street, right on this busy road here. I also grew up here at 167 North Main Street, where my parents still reside. I teach at the middle school, my husband teaches at the high school, and we have a son at the elementary school. So my dad is also the local pastor here at the Methodist Church, so we got our bases covered. We love this town and we're heavily ingrained in this town, but I have some concerns about these condos, and I know why people would want to be here. It's a wonderful place to be, and our school system is fantastic, if I do say so myself. But since we're talking about facts tonight, I took some notes with things people said, and the facts are, do we have any data on condos that are in award-winning school districts? Because there is a huge line of people waiting to move into our district. I don't care if you want to talk about Boone and Kenton and these large counties. It is completely different with a small independent school system. Over the last few years, I used to see 75 kids a day in my English class. That was at the beginning of my career. And the last few years, I've had 150 to 165 kids a day. I'm still, or was still, the only 7th grade English reading teacher. So we have had a huge explosion. We are over-capped at the elementary school. We are over-capped at the middle school. We are busting at the seams at the high school. I know some of my husband's classes have over 40 students in them. I do not believe that no one is going to move in with children into the condos, regardless of what the data says. I realize I'm an English teacher, but before I became an English teacher, I actually worked in marketing downtown. And when you're looking at statistics, there's a lot of things, we all know this, that you can do to change variables and look at numbers. I'm not suggesting you were dishonest, but I'm saying we have a unique situation here where people want to live in our community for our school system. There's a reason, as you said, that 71.2% of our population is under the age of 44. People are moving here and want to be here because of what we have to offer at our school system and this small town life that we still somewhat have. And so I would urge you to really consider the council before you hop on board, because I spoke with our superintendent today, and he did pull the data on the apartments that were over near Arby's newer apartments, and there are at least 35 kids just from that little amount of those apartments that come to our school system. And that's a tiny unit of apartments. So I just find it shocking that there would be 7 to 10 kids and 125 units. I just find that really hard to believe. I know people really want to be here, and I can't imagine though that people want to move here with this tax rate unless you have a family. Why would you move here? I mean, it's nice that Kroger is in front of you and Kohl's is next door, and Bailey Jane's is fantastic. If you haven't had their donuts, you should try one. But I mean, it's a great little town. I love it here. I'm an alumni. I've been here most of my life. I don't want to go anywhere. I want my son to experience this too. So I understand why people want to be here, but I'm not sure that Walton is attracting single people. I'm not sure that Walton is attracting, you know, at one point in time we were told people wanted to live here who commuted to Louisville, business professionals, and who commuted, you know, their spouse commuted to Cincinnati. I can think of like 3 or 4 people in our school system whose dads commute to Louisville and moms commute to Cincinnati, but not very many, not enough to stock these condos with young business professionals and single people. At $175,000, we're gonna fill up that school system in a flash. And it doesn't matter if the third room, I didn't know about this, thank you, is a bedroom or not, but if you live in a historic home like I do and like my parents do on Main Street, most of our homes didn't have closets, and there's still bedrooms, and we built closets. I remember that was the first thing we did when my parents moved to town here. We added closets to the bedrooms because they didn't have them or they just had a press. So whether it's a bedroom or not, it's going to have people in it. We're gonna be packed. I'm just concerned also living here and working at the school, how many kids cross over Mary C. Grubbs now already to go hang out at the apartments, hang out at Kroger, hang out at McDonald's. If you add another complex of people, they are social butterflies. They are going to make their way over there, whether you really want to meet them or not. They're going to be there. They're going to be riding their bikes. They're going to be skateboarding. They're going to be running with their dogs. If you put a pocket park in, it's going to be full. You know, there's not a lot for them to do there. And so it just concerns me that more and more kids are going to be crossing. And I just don't know how safe that is either, that section. I feel like the study we heard probably needs to be redone on traffic as well. So those are some of my concerns. I think if the school knew that there was a potential for more bedrooms, they would be more concerned. And I think that's really the gist of what I have to say. So those are my concerns.
Mrs. Coleman, I appreciate you, and I would think you might be qualified to comment. If you don't feel comfortable replying, that's fine. But as a teacher at Walton Verona, do you know, does Walton Verona still take tuition students from outside of district?
They do, but not very many. It depends on the class load. So we have lists of students who are waiting to get into our school system, and most of them have been denied because the class sizes are too large.
Fair enough.
So,
I was just curious.
No, you're right. So for example, today we had field day. So, you know, I could see all the kids across the field. You know, the 5th grade class is rather small, so you might have a shot at getting in. But like, you know, the 9th and 10th grade classes are out of control. So it is unlikely that you could get in. So I do know there are several friends of mine who have even applied that can't get in because there's no room in the classes. But that's a good point.
Okay, just curious. I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Okay. Questions or actually, I guess.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yes.
By all means.
My wife was an English teacher for 47 years.
Cross-examining every citizen that comes out.
Speaking on behalf of Laura, speaking on behalf of myself.
School
teacher, that's fair enough.
The Board of Education and the superintendent did not echo any objection to this for the school system.
No, I spoke with Dr. Baker today. He simply said he was unaware, he didn't realize the meeting was tonight, and he said that he pulled the data and there were approximately 35 kids in the apartments.
And those are low-income
No.
family
No,
apartments.
that's not accurate. That's not accurate. They got a tax credit to make a small percentage of them affordable, which was a total of 4 apartments out of 44. So that's an unfair characterization of that community.
I didn't mean to be unfair. I knew there were some subsidies involved, which usually,
4.
So, ma'am, you say you don't think that there's not going to be hardly any kids from this. But do you have any basis to have a question of the actual data of 15 years of what this product has generated as far as kids?
Sure.
Mr.
Do you have it in an intermediate school system? Do you show that data?
So I'm talking about the data of this
Mr. Ducing, in all fairness, let's be fair here. She's coming as a citizen that happens to be a teacher. No, and I asked her a question as well, based on her opinion, but let's not get into cross-examining everybody that comes up here. Council,
Yeah, this is the only
myself.
one we're going to have any of that.
I step back on that, and I apologize for my own question.
Citizen comments.
It's citizen comments, so, no, I'm just trying to be fair to all parties involved here.
I let you have some leeway because she did come in kind of as a hybrid and testified as to what the
I
superintendent
apologize.
said.
I opened that can of worms up, and I apologize
This
for
is
that.
citizen comment.
actual data versus.
Sure, no,
I appreciate it.
I understand.
Well, actual data too would potentially include that 3rd bedroom. So when we look 90 pages deep and what was submitted to us prior to our first discussion 30 days ago, we saw where the school supported, right? But we also saw that the facts weren't the facts, where we're calling it a study where it literally can be a bedroom. So if the school had full facts and they realized that some of these could be potentially 3-bedroom, then they may have a different opinion too. But those are facts.
I haven't been to one of these in a while where it's gotten like this, so I'm biting my lip.
Can
You behave yourself.
Can we get back to citizen comments?
We're on citizen comments.
We have it in the record.
It's in the record. We're on citizen
70%
comments.
of the people that have bought these over 15 years are either one person or 2-person inhabitants, 92%.
But I think what they're trying to say.
Just
Hang on.
everybody,
Please,
just chill.
We're going to get through
Yeah, we're
everybody.
gonna,
I promise you.
everybody, the rest is gonna be citizen comment and no exam. That was just kind of when she brought in the
Yes,
superintendent.
that's I opened that can of worms, and I apologize for it. We'll go with next
Who's
citizen
next?
comment. Tootie, you're right there. Please state your name, your address.
Ma'am, to the podium.
And podium.
No, you need to go to the, ma'am, go to the
They
podium.
want your name and address.
Oh, name and address.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
My name is Linda Courtney. I have worked for the school system for 34 years. I was born and raised here. And I know for a fact that one time we had classrooms of like 26 kids. Our teachers they're distressed from what they're doing. We've got people wanting to come in this community mainly for our school system. And we're busting at the seams. They're having to build a new school. How soon it'll be done, I don't know. But to be honest with you, with all the apartment buildings and what have you we've got in our community right now, our school system can't handle what we've got right now. The traffic is unbelievable. Where roads cannot handle what we have. I mean, out here by Kroger's, it's unbelievable coming from that Dollar General, coming off the expressway of 75, and nobody give a rat's ass what's going on with our transportation system within our community. This is not what the citizens of Walton wants. They want our community back to what it was. And putting in condos, I'm sorry, if the roads wasn't so congested as what they are, it'd be different. If our school systems could handle it, it'd be different. We can't do it. It cannot be done. It's not fair to the people that moved here and lives in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Barb?
Good evening, my name is Barb Farrow, and I live over on Brookwood Drive in Walton. I don't have any kids that go to the school, but I do live in a residential area where there are kids that ride their bikes straight out into the driveway, into the street. It's going to happen there, and you're going to have kids hurt. You've got the fire department sitting right back there. The kids are going to be out there riding their bikes. Here comes the fire truck. They need to get out. There's kids right there. Do you think the kids are going to move? No, kids do not do that. We have to think of the concern there. A pocket park and have 125 apartments, you're going to have at least 3 kids in most of those apartments because people are going to put kids there. That pocket park is going to be overwhelmed. Those kids are going to be out on the streets and walking from Kroger's with your groceries. I'm not going to walk from Kroger's to those apartments with groceries. If I have 7 or 8 bags, as Mr. Wainwright kind of said, I wouldn't do it with 3. That's a long walk. And if you're talking about people over 55, really? 55-year-olds are not going to walk from Kroger's to their apartment with their groceries. They might walk to the library. They might walk around their little sidewalks that you call a walking park. That might be the extent of it. Otherwise, they're going to get in their car and they're going to go wherever they want. And like Mrs. Courtney said, traffic is atrocious on Mary Grubbs. Try to get on the expressway southbound during peak time. You're going to sit in traffic forever just to get through the light and get up to where you can turn onto the expressway. Add some more. The people coming off the expressway going southbound onto the Walton exit, we've already had some fatalities and accidents there where people were killed on that ramp. And I've been out there on that ramp and had semis pass me going 70 miles an hour, hoping they didn't hit me while I was waiting to get off to the ramp. Add 125 more places to live, and you're going to add more traffic. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Flavey. I was born and raised here as well. I'm a small business owner right here on Main Street. And really the only thing I want to address, Mr. Doozy addressed the City Council and told you all that you needed to vote on facts. And that's not true. You vote on what the citizens of this community want you to do. You represent us. You don't represent facts. You represent the people of this community. And I just want to remind you of that before you do decide. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else?
Whomever. First come, first serve.
Thank you very much for recognizing me. My name is Wayne Morse. I live at 12108 Dolores Court, right up here in Walton. I'd like to thank Councilman Wainwright because he asked most of the questions that I have, and I appreciate his research and what he's done on this project to set we residents of Walton straight. My wife and I moved here, well, we bought our house in 2008, right off Bettinger across from Mr. G's. We moved out here in 2010. We bought here in Walton because we like small town living. We have no children. We don't mind paying higher taxes. We don't mind paying school taxes for a school that we don't have children in. And we appreciate that this city has such a great school system. But some of the concerns I do have, they've already been mentioned tonight, is walking. These people in those age groups, I don't think you're going to see much walkers, as has already been stated, walking around downtown Walton, walking around the Kroger shopping area, walking to the city park, which is a great park if you get there, but a lot of them won't be walking. And everyone's already mentioned carrying groceries home. Now, if this walking path is going to be controlled to walkers only, since we're going to have elderly folks out there, is that going to be a condition? Will there be skateboards? Will there be electric scooters? Will there be bicycles? Will there be roller skating and inline skating? Will those kind of things happen in that area? And then will it migrate over into the parking lot? Because children love to go into different areas, especially teenagers, and feel the freedom of where they are. So those are some things that we will be seeing here in Walton. If you'd have come through Walton this afternoon about maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock, you would have seen that it takes about 10 minutes to get from Mary Grubbs to the other end of town. My wife and I grew up in upstate New York in the mountains. We had one street, just like here, on Main Street. And it's perfect here. And you can walk Main Street. You can visit the shops. But like everyone's already said, if you go shopping, you're going to want to take your vehicle, especially if you're 50-something years old. And to address the number of people in the house, Mr. Councilman Rainwright is right. No one can dictate to we homeowners how many people we can house in our house. And as for the citizens of Walton, the residents of Walton, no one has told me tonight what is the benefit of this facility to us. We've heard about, oh, we'll have increased tax revenue. We'll have this, we'll have that. Business owners will get more business. The churches will be overflowing with people. Where did that idea come from? Where are the facts in that? Since we're all dealing in facts, where's the facts? The other thing is, these 12 people who are on the planning committee, where do they live? Do they live in Walton? The 12 people on the committee live here in Walton? 2 live here in Walton.
One wasn't there.
Pardon me?
One wasn't there for the vote. So
And
only one.
Oh, so there's only one.
Correct.
2 live here, but only 1 for the vote. See how you have to ask the right question to get the factual answer? So of these people, 1 disagreed. If I heard correctly tonight, 11 supported it, 1 did not. Is the one that didn't live here in Walton? I mean, why are people outside of our city making decisions for us, the residents? Why is Boone County trying to run our city by planning the zoning areas for our city? Why did we not hear about this as residents of Walton months ago? We've even had people say here tonight that they didn't know there was a meeting tonight. Why were we kept in the dark? We appreciate our city council looking out for the residents of Walton. That's their job. And I would submit they're doing it very well. But they've been accused of being argumentative. They've been accused of being against this project. There's been accusations fired at these people with no merit. Why are we doing that? And then to wonder, the counselor says, I've never been in a meeting like this. You've never met people like Waltonians, maybe, and I'm a transplant.
I've been to a lot of meetings like this, he said lately.
Oh, okay, lately. But this is what happens. The citizens get frustrated. The citizens get upset. And the citizens and residents don't want people to be making decisions for them that's going to affect their lifestyle. I walk our community every night. My little dog and I walk. But that may be a rarity to do that. Because you don't see a lot of people walking up and down Main Street. You don't see a lot of people walking in the different residential areas. You can go down to Kroger right now and you won't see people walking in the parking lot. So yes, I am against this project. But I agree with Fisher Builders that you will easily sell these homes at $175,000 a piece because that's a bargain in this city. But I also disagree that you're going to have more people living in those condos than you're suggesting are going to be there. So to take no more time, thank you very much for your time and listening to my comments.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, City Council.
Anyone else?
Jordan, go on up.
Hello, I'm Jordan Simmons, 134 Bedinger Avenue. Been here way longer than anticipated, so I'll make it quick. I just wanted to come up and just say real quick my piece, my opinion on the matter. I just feel like that the facts that were presented to us that we're supposed to be basing this decision on, changing that zoning, or opinions on actual facts, and as stated, some statistics can be manipulated to get to that opinion, and I feel like that's kind of what we rushed to do. I'm a single guy, owning my house by myself. I don't have any children, but I'll tell you what, I use it as a pickup line. So I'm telling you, women want to move here, kids want to live here. It's a reality, guys. It's going to be a thing. These 2-bedroom condos are going to be full. I've got a house at the end of my street that has a trailer parked in it with children living in it right now. I'm telling you this right now, that guys in this city, it's already happening. We can't approve this. That's all.
Thank you, Jordan. I hope that line works for you, buddy.
It's working.
Anyone else? Anybody else have any comment?
Steve, you got anything? Anybody, any other citizens' comments? Anybody?
Mr. Ross, are we going to have another chance for council to comment, or would now be the appropriate time?
Now would be the time.
That would be the perfect time.
One more, and then we'll.
Oh, we got one.
Come on out.
Most people have said what I wanted to say for the most part, mainly on the 309 Old Nixon Road with the terror.
Just be careful what you say, because you're going to come back and
One question that I had was, what was the time frame was this had to be decided so fast? Because I was late and I didn't see the pictures and all that, so hopefully that'll be on the YouTube channel.
I can't hear.
Can you talk into the mic? They can't hear you down
You
here.
can hear me?
There we go. That's better.
Y'all can hear me now? Okay.
I think I heard the question, and maybe Counselor, you can answer it, is what's the time crunch to
Yeah, why does it have to be
get
decided
this
so
done?
fast? What's going on?
Well, there's a 90-day period, and it runs May 31st.
A 90-day period of what?
When they,
Counselor, when was the first public hearing for this that before it went to Boone County Planning and Zoning? This has been a process. There was already one of these through the county, advertised same way we advertised this one.
Well, not the same.
I seen it on Facebook.
No, exactly the same way. Maybe not city council or the city putting it out, but the proper legal way that it's normally done. Yes. When was that, Mr. Schwartz? Do you have that?
The public hearing was held on, February 2nd.
February
this year.
2nd.
So that was the public hearing. By state law, notification was given to the Boone County Recorder. The site was posted with a sign. If you go out there, the sign is out there today. Yeah. And all adjoining property owners were notified by certified mail.
Right.
That is the limit of what state law requires. In terms of the question of the 90-day time limit, state law also states that from the date that the Planning Commission takes their action for recommendation, City Council, legislative body, has 90 days to override that recommendation. If that does not happen, the recommendation of the Planning Commission becomes final and effective by operation of law. That is state law.
So when does 90 days up?
The 31st.
May 31st. And what he stated is correct. That is the
What
statute.
she's talking about, I just want everybody, any citizen that hears this, she's living what she's talking about, so. And y'all, I'm a transplant from Georgia, and we just bought our first house here in 2020. Thank you very much. And and I love it here. I came from Woodbury, Georgia. It's got like 800 people in it. A little different world, if you look it up. I don't want this to happen, but sometimes things that we don't want happen anyways. So I'm going to because I don't want it to happen, because it's not going to be able to handle it. And my youngest boy is a junior, he'll be a senior and out of here before this happens, but my grandbaby is 4. So he hadn't got started yet. So mine's going out and coming in at the same time almost. So if you gotta get your way and you do it, does it have to be 125 places to live over there? Because they did talk about the traffic, the sidewalks, the lighting, the sounds, the school. So can't it be smaller? This is a historic town. If you were going to do it smaller, do it better, do it historic in the fashion that would benefit and promote this place. And because it's never going to stay the same. It's never going to go back to the way it was, but if it goes forward, it should go forward the right way. We have our own water here. I learned that in these little meetings. I usually don't say anything. So when you keep putting down asphalt and sidewalk and stuff, where does the rainwater go? Because we could be using that water in our stuff. So when I lived in Dothan, it was these big things that just caught water and it flowed wherever the heck the water went. I'm sorry, y'all can't hear me. So I mean, there's rainwater catching that I'm getting to, so green space. Like old houses don't have closets. A lot of poor folks don't have closets. A lot of poor folks can get good enough credit to pay $175,000 for a house because, look at me, a house, for a little bit more than that. So that third study can in fact be a bedroom, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the integrity of your company or how you want the house to actually look. It's reality versus what we want. That's why I'm giving this as an alternative future, so to speak, instead of going, no, because I'm going to get my way. But I wish we did. So not 125. Do it the right way. Have green space. You know there's going to be kids, so have a fantastic park. If there's going to be families of any kind, whether there's kids or not, going to have pets. They're going to want to be able to take those pets out. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to do it right, and do it in a way that goes well with the historic beauty of this place. So there you go.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? So, any comment from council?
Start down here?
Start with Mr. Martin.
Yeah, just two things. Just for the record, this council has nothing against development, against Mr. Burley or Fisher. If you guys were going to put in a Ruby Tuesday, I would grab a shovel and help you break down tomorrow, But given, we've got a couple of fallacies that have been presented tonight. I know we want to be all about the facts, but if everything goes right, we're talking a 4-year development, which is well ahead of the Walton exit interchange being developed by the feds and the state. So we're bringing in. You guys got 339 parking spots there, and the traffic. Mary Grubbs can't support it. Interstate can't support it. 15 years down the road, sure, this would be a totally different argument. But tonight, we are not ready for that. So that's one big fallacy, is just the time frame of this as it was presented to Boone County and as the goals of Fisher development. The second major fallacy, as Mr. Wainwright pointed out, was just a traffic study being performed on spring break, which really skews the whole numbers. And the third major discrepancy would just be the school-age children. Now, I know Fisher hasn't developed a condo in Walton Brunnett School District. You guys are only using the data you have, and there's, that's just part of it. if you guys do get this development, when you soundproof it, will you do like this wall also? So, but, so I know you're doing the best you can with the statistics you have, but they do not apply to Walton-Bronin School District. And the incredible number of crazy people that want to come here just for that. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in people that love their kids and want the best for them. And I'm going to stop rambling now and pass it off to whoever wants to go.
I believe Sherry, Councilwoman Snowden is next in line.
Oh, I'm good. Everybody has said everything I already agreed with, so.
Councilwoman Courtney.
I appreciate your time and you being here. I know that some faces are familiar and we've been in this arena a few times as it relates to zoning changes. I think one of the citizens said it best when she stated that we're here to represent the desires of our citizens. And if you were in tune with Walton, if you cared about Walton from a county level, then you would know that it's not condos we're looking for. It's not apartments. Our folks are looking for entertainment, like a sit-down restaurant. Join our Facebook pages. You'll see what they're looking for. So for the developers who want to develop, then help meet the needs of our citizens. And as this gentleman stated, thank you, sir, for speaking, what is it that Walton gets in return? The school loves your tax dollars. The city takes a very small share of the tax dollars. The school would benefit, and I've seen your 90 pages of documentation where you have their blessing. I might add that the people that represent the district, a lot of them do not live in the city of Walton. They don't live in the district. So, they're running a business. They're looking for the funds. I'm not blaming them for that. But here, we represent the people that live here and those desires and those wants and those needs. That's how I'll vote.
Councilman Wainwright.
If I said I didn't have anything, would you believe me?
Absolutely not.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming out. These can be highly contested, and I think back to when I first got on council, and it was just like me in a room, like watching crazy people fight, and I was like, that could be me. And so it wasn't about. It's not about the. And I know I can be passionate is the word I use, not argumentative, because I am passionate. I'm passionate about this town. I love living here. My family loves living here, has loved it, and I hope to leave it a better place when I leave. So thank you for all coming out, and that's what I got.
Councilman Stevens.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and giving their opinions on both sides so that we can take a look at this and figure out what we're going to do.
And with that, you can close the hearing.
Meeting closed.
Thank you, guys.